Microphone.
Yes, I can hear you. So, welcome to Kate's Hangout. I'm glad you're out here hanging out with me. And my name is Kate Bowditch, and I am a hypnotherapist and a licensed mental health counselor. I'm in Everett, Washington, and so I see people who can get to Everett, Washington and come and see me for all sorts of things, from depression to just momentary glitches in their lives, trauma, sorrow, grief, those things, recuperating from divorce, all those things that trip us up. That's who comes in my door, and that's what they bring with them, and that's because that's who we are.
Mic isn't on. It's slashed out on the screen. Maybe not.
Someone is telling me my mic is out. Okay, is my mic on? Somebody tell me. Yes, no. Sophie, can you hear me? Okay, good. She can hear me. So anyway, so there I am, and here I am, and I've been doing Hangouts to talk about the things that do trip up large numbers of us. I've done some talks on negative self-talk, on all sorts of things, affirmations, whatever. Okay, so today we are, well, I have to make a little confession. I got very excited around Friday, decided it was Sunday, and I did a piece on success and failure and the fears thereof. So that was kind of interesting that I got so excited about it that I did it on Friday thinking it was Sunday. So I'm looking at that, and I wanted to go further into that question this time. So before we do that, I do want to give you a phone number, because if there are those of you who are out there in the wide world and really can't get to Everett for whatever reason, too far away, can't get out of the house, whatever, that if you call me, there's my number, call me at that number, and we can talk about how to talk online, because I am available online. And by online, that means you get to look at me and I get to look at you kind of like this right here. And we can talk about the issues. It's safe, it's encrypted, it's private. I'm also running a group for parents who are having difficulty with their teenage children. And now the children would, of course, tell you that they're having difficulty with their parents. But I run an online group for supporting parents of teenagers. It's a very difficult era for both sides, parent and teenager. You can call me here, or you can go to my blog, which is www.katebowditch.com. Pretty straightforward. So I would love to have you on my blog. Come see me on there, write to me, read my stuff, nose around, look at my pages. I have a whole separate page for parents of teenagers. So welcome on that note. Welcome. Steve, can you hear me? No, he can't hear me. Okay, he probably should put on his headset or something. So success and failure, they plague us from the time we're very small. Both success and failure can be quite scary, either way. So I wanted to just talk about that today. I want to talk about where that fear comes from and what it is that maybe is involved in it, so that once we've kind of called the dragon and put the dragon up, put it up on the table so we can look at it, it's not so fierce anymore. Dragons tend to be very fierce when they're under your bed, but not so fierce once you get them out in the broad light of day. Can you hear me now, Steve? Can you hear me? And Sophie, you can hear me, right? One of us is having a little problem there. Darn. Anyway, the dragon. When we're very small, I mean, really quite small, usually under the age of about 4, 3, children really they're not born with a sense of failure or success. That's why they do the same thing over and over and over again, because each time it's like, oh, I did it. Well, that's kind of cool. Or they are learning to walk and they spend a lot of time, sitting down on their diapers. And they just note it. It's not a declaration of their worth as a human being. And so children learn to walk, and they sit down a lot, and then they get up and they learn to walk. The kids who have bicycles learn to ride their bicycles, and they keep at it until they learn. They don't get on the bike, fall over, say, well, I'm no good at that, and walk away. It's a little bit like learning to play the piano. The first time you sit down at a piano as a child, you're not playing full piano pieces. You're sort of finding middle C. And if that's wonderful, if that is viewed as a fun thing for you to do, then anything you do simply feeds your knowledge. But if there is the right and wrong scale balancing always on everything you do, it can get quite heavy. The icky thing with the good angel and the bad angel, or however that works. Never did like those. So anyway, so there's kind of what the beast is. The beast begins to be taught at a pretty early age. Mockery of small children is apparently a pretty widespread pastime for people who have nothing better to do. And it's really rather odd that we do that. Not all of us do that, thank heaven, but some do. We'll laugh at a child who's struggling with something. We'll laugh at a child who's crying and saying, you're a baby, don't cry, whatever. And I think these are those moments that get turned into that terrible place where we don't want ever to walk there again. And yet we have to, because failures, in that sense, is a part of life. You trip, you fall. We have car accidents. We drop dishes. We don't finish the exam on time. We don't get our work accepted into the magazine or the whatever we sent it off to. We don't get the part in the play that we wanted. These are everyday things. Now, there are some people who simply view those moments as, oh dang, I'll change it and come back later. Some take it as a statement of their worth and fall, and will frequently fall over things that are really quite small. And so that becomes greater and greater fear of being in that terrible place of falling. Every time we approach something where we might not make it, we might not be this thing called successful. And on the flip side of it, we have this odd business called success. We were talking last time about the success comes in sort of two ways. It comes as a moment in time. You have to make a final exam. Did you pass or not? I even think pass and fail is really ridiculous. But you either pass it or you fail it. And then there's that big gray area in between where everybody thinks you should have done better than no matter what it was you did. If you get a B, you should have gotten B plus. If you get a B plus, you should have gotten an A. If you got an A, why didn't you get an A plus? Which can be viewed as a failure, even though it's fine. It's perfectly fine. And so those are what I call point successes. You either won the race, you didn't win the race. You were elected cheerleader, or you weren't, or whatever. Then there's this whole other piece of life success. And that, is he successful? Is he a successful lawyer? Did he make a success of his life, or she? Is it a successful marriage? What the heck does that mean? What does that mean? And it hints of huge expectations that the minute you begin to say yes, enormous amounts more are piled on your shoulders. If and that's the problem with the big success thing, is that you dare not ever have a fallow year. Because then, oh, the poor fellow. Oh, he was successful, but now, for crying out loud, he's having a fallow time. So we do become afraid of these judgments. Success, failure. And there is a little piece about success and failure both, that if you're good at something, then many times, and I don't think families are evil, I think they're sort of misguided sometimes, that if you, whatever it is you do, if you cook well, you have to do it for life. If you draw well, if you sing well, if you play an instrument well as a child, there's a lot of pressure that's immediately put on you to continue that for the rest of your life and be successful at it. Well, I don't know, maybe you just wanted to learn how to do it, and once you learned how to do it and it was fun, and then it really didn't rock your socks anymore. What is that? Is that a failure? Is that a success? And how do you think about that? And for children also in families that have a tradition of doing a certain thing, that to do that certain thing is called successful, and to not do that certain thing, well, the family feels that it's failure. And that can be quite devastating if, say, in a family of actors, you have someone who likes to play an instrument, or in a family of musicians, you have someone who really would like to make gasoline more efficient. They don't get it, and so the person has to battle with this war of who am I, and what is success and what is failure. And it can work the other way too, that there are some families who are, pretty busted and pretty broken, and they don't function well. And to be successful means you leave them, and the family members will pull you back. They will do everything to keep you back in the family. In the same way that a very successful family who's got someone who's not quite making it on any level will spend a lot of time and energy worrying about that and trying to pull that person back into the family, whatever back into the family means, because it's the idea that, well, for 2 generations we've been doctors, you have to be a doctor. Well, he doesn't want to be a doctor. He'd like to go and surf on Hawaii for 20 years and see what that's like. And the family will really frequently spend a lot of time trying to pull them up, pull them back, get them into education, that sort of thing. So it works both ways, negative and positive. Any thoughts on that, you guys? Yes, part of this thinking is that nothing is a success until it is perfect. Only A+ or 100% is considered a success. Wow. And that's true. And I think that's a killer, because that was a problem for me in my life. If you aren't the best, don't bother. That was only one of three big ones that I had to wrestle with, because I'm not the best. I'm the best me that's ever been, and that ever will be again. And even that time, sometimes I'm not at my best. So does that mean I'm a failure? No, not at all. Not at all. I'm pretty cool, actually. And what's a failure? A failure, do you have to absolutely bottom out, put your face on the sidewalk, and have somebody step on it to be a failure? I don't think so. I think failure is one of those things that people really like to sort of put on that. If you're not perfect, you are a failure. There's like zero gray. Sometimes just dealing with and surviving a fallow year can be one of the biggest successes. Yes, absolutely. Because that, you do that on your own. You do that on your own, and that is a big success. And sometimes just getting up in the morning is a success. Getting through a whole day and not biting people's heads off because that's how you really feel. That can be success. And so those are the small successes. From the outside, they're viewed as small successes. But from the inside, that can be really, really big. And I think of the program The Voice, which I like to watch. This year, a young fellow came on who looked really young, and he wanted to play his guitar and sing a song, and he did, and just, of course, was fabulous. And he got all the way through till about the very last two playoffs. I mean, he really made it. And it turns out he had been there the last year and had not even turned ahead at the blind audition. He had not gotten so much as a, I hope you have a good year practicing. You know, they just sent him right on down the line. And he said, okay, I'm coming back. To me, simply doing that means he's successful. He's already top of the line. You know, the higher I am, the more likely I am to both fail and to excel. So the more tolerant I become of failure, the more likely I am to win big time. Aim, that is. I like that. The more tolerant I become of failure, the more likely I am to win big time. So somewhere in here, if we're going to deal with the two-headed beast, I really believe that fear of failure and fear of success, in my personal belief, are really the fear of the same thing. It's fear of judgment, a fear of expectation, and a fear of change. That if I am successful, all things will change. If I fail miserably, all things will change. And so somewhere in there is this idea of tolerance and forgiveness. We don't knock small children around because they don't do advanced algebra, you know. But somewhere along the line, we start expecting this model of perfect behavior that is absolutely crippling. So how do you deal with it? What do you do? What are we going to do? Forgive yourself. That's a big one. Does that mean forgive yourself, go to bed, suck your thumb, and not try again for the rest of your life? No. No. It means that You're not your mother, you're not your father, you're not Uncle Bubba, you're not Aunt Maisie, you're not anybody but you. And who is the you in there that wants to be heard? And if that you is is an operatic tenor, and you have a bass voice, then we have to kind of think about having some sort of expectation and alignment with some sort of reality. But why not? Why not? Go for it. Why not do what you could do? Because, as I said in the last hangout, and I think it is so important that I want to say it again. It's one of the big ones. You know, we get these phrases that kind of float through, and some of them sort of stick. They kind of like fly paper, you know. And this one is stuck with me. And that is that there is no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. And you can use feedback or not. And perhaps the only failure is not using the feedback. And you continue doing the same old, and it continues producing the same result. You know, I've been waving my arms around all my life, and I have yet to learn how to fly. Well, you know, that's okay. My life is not dependent on my ability to fly. But the feedback is that my arms aren't sufficient. I need a little help if I'm going to fly. So that would be true of many, many things that we attempt to do. Good one, Steve. Stepping out and trying something does open up the possibility of both failure and success. And having to change, if I'm successful, might be scary. Stepping out, that is. And we do change when we become successful. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Now, Sophie, you know, you can just pop up here and talk if you wanted to. You have to, your microphone's on mute. I'm not sure why, but I think it's on your computer, not mine. But you can do that if you want. And having to change if I'm successful may be scary. And we also do change if we attempt something and it doesn't work out. We have to kind of haul back and take a look at the feedback and say, well, either I can redo how I'm doing something and do it again, or I can just quit and go home, which is also okay too. Nobody says you weren't born a bungee jumper. Maybe you don't have to be the best bungee jumper in the world if you get up on the bridge and go, nah, you can't do this. This is good feedback. It's good feedback. So, Sophie doesn't have a mic. That's why. Good. Okay. So other things to consider in the failure thing, and in the success thing. I call it a thing because it's more like a fog. It's like a cloud that sits around us. And some people, you know, they just do their stuff. There's a wonderful book called Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman. It's old. It's been around. Mr. Feynman's long gone. But it was a book written about a man who was one of the most brilliant men in the U.S. And it never occurred to him that he couldn't do what he set his mind to. It never once occurred to him. And he was very big during the World War II. They sent him to Los Alamos to do a bunch of stuff. And his character has popped up in a few sci-fi movies, which I think is funny, by a guy who actually looks a lot like him. But the book is about a man who was born absolutely clear that not only was he going to try to do everything and learn everything in the world, everybody was going to help him do it. That was just the way it was. And they did. Nobody ever questioned him because he never questioned himself. I have read that book a couple of times, and I stand in awe of a man who would just do whatever he felt like doing and learn how to do it. And I mean, here he was, Mr. Bigwig physicist at Los Alamos, and somebody said to him, "We're getting married. Come play the bongo drums." And the bongos were all the rage at the time. And he said, "I don't know how to play them. Oh, I don't know how to play the bongo drums. Oh my goodness!" Walks out of his lab and is gone for 3 days. Went off to the wedding, played the bongo drums, did a nice job, put the bongo drums down, and went back to what he loved. Never occurred to him that that would be a problem. And somehow that just delights my soul. Well, he never admitted to any of the doubts. That may be true, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's a book worth reading. Very much. Very much. So I am certainly at my ripe old age working on this business of feedback, not failure. Failure does have a sense of finite time quality. You failed, that's it, you're done, boom. Whereas success is like forever and ever and ever and ever, which can be absolutely daunting and exhausting to think about. But if there is no failure, if there is no such thing as failure, only feedback, that certainly liberates me to try things, do things. I have to remind myself, I have to write this out and put it on my mirror in the bathroom, because I do forget. I was raised with a lot of sort of judgment about what we kids did or didn't do. And so I still fight that. And I think that's just something that many of us have. I think my parents came out of World War II and they were terrified that life wasn't going to be perfect. They had seen enough of imperfect. And they kind of stepped out into the 50s with we are going to be happy, we're going to have the white picket fence, we are going to have the happy family. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's another story. So, any other comments before I go? And I am reading them so that later when this is a video, people can see what is being written. Nope. All right. It's 5:30. I want to thank you for coming out. Be sure to go to www.katebowditch.com. That's my blog, and I write about happiness. We're never on it for very long, but we're like this. Sometimes hard things happen, and we have to come back. So go there and leave comments. Like my Facebook page. My Facebook page is Kate Bowditch, M.A., LMHC. That stands for Licensed Mental Health Counselor. And you can read some stuff there, like my page, leave comments, become a friend, and I will be back next Sunday this time, not Friday, Sunday at 5 o'clock, and I hope that you will join me again. I love your comments. Thank you, both of you, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.